This week on Capitol Report, President Donald Trump 2.0.
The golden age of America begins right now.
I am a golden god! Trump hits the ground running with a wave of executive orders.
We're the only country in the world that does this with birthright, as you know. And it's just absolutely ridiculous.
This is a war on the American people.
Also, Governor Lamont takes action on climate change.
I don't think we're winning. I think we're losing.
I keep playing. I don't think the heavy stuff's going to come down for quite a while.
Republican leaders deliver a message to Democrats with a plan to lower energy costs.
We as Republicans say, hey, we have an idea. We actually have a bill about something.
All right, you proved your point.
New Britain Mayor Aaron Stewart sounding more and more like a candidate for governor.
I truly believe that it's now or never, because at best, Connecticut is stuck in neutral.
Watch the left. Shut up and drive before one of these nerds asks me another question.
And finally, a long overdue book is back where it belongs in Greenwich.
Yeah, I know what you're thinking. What's this guy making such a big stink about old library books? Let me give you a hint, Junior.
Capitol Report starts now. Welcome to Capitol Report. I am Tom Dutcher. We are so glad you're spending part of this Sunday morning alongside the power panel, the mayor of Bloomfield, Connecticut, Danielle Wong. Good morning. The Andy Reid of coaching in Connecticut.
Wow.
Oh, Joe Arizumowicz.
Yes, I'm here.
Liz Karanowitz, Republican strategist. And look who's over there. Lee Elsing, 94.9, the voice of reason, the voice of freedom in Connecticut. There you go. All right, guys. We're only 6 days into the second helping of President Donald Trump. And I'll say this, it's been anything but boring. But before the drapes were changed in the Oval Office, Trump was signing executive orders like they were going out of style. Trump promised swift and extreme action on immigration and the border, and well, he delivered. But his call to end birthright citizenship is already facing some legal hurdles here in Connecticut. Attorney General William Tong, well, he's ready for a fight. Listen to this.
It's a big deal because this is a fundamental right enshrined in our Constitution for more than 150 years. And it would be akin to saying on other fundamental rights, people may have them, it may be ensconced in the Constitution, but they don't apply to you. Can you imagine if the president stepped out and said, you know what, I understand that free speech is in the First Amendment, but not for you?
Where do Connecticut Republican leaders stand on birthright issue, citizenship issue? House Minority Leader Vin Candelora had some thoughts. Watch this.
I think many people, if you speak to them, there's something just fundamentally wrong with allowing people to come here illegally and then all of a sudden gain citizenship through that process. So I think it is something we need to take a look at. Bottom line is our federal government has failed us for too long on this policy. We've seen decades and decades. And now it's reached to the point of, with our open borders, we now have criminal aliens that have come here. So I think we have a tall task on hand.
Republicans also proposed reforms last week to Connecticut's Trust Act, which makes it easier for law enforcement to communicate with federal immigration officials and detain illegal immigrants charged with felonies, domestic violence, or terrorism. But panel, let's start with birthright citizenship. Lee, what do you think? You must be, a big MAGA guy right now. Huh?
Well, I think that by the time this thing weaves its way through the courts, I just don't know if it's going to have the legs to actually get it where Trump wants to get it done. I think the totality of it all, though, is, Trump had an agenda coming in. America voted that they wanted to put an end to the illegal immigration, this chaos that's happened at the southern border, the 10 million plus people that have come across. And I think, how Trump sometimes throws a lot of stuff at the wall and sees what can stick. I don't think when this is all said and done, this is going to stick. But the thought of slowing down and stopping illegal immigration, that's really what Trump wants to do.
So I do agree with you, Lee, as far as, we believed everything that Trump said on the campaign trail he is doing. I believe that this is truly a political ploy to see if it sticks to the wall. He knows this is it going to pass? It was dead on arrival when it went to the district court level. We know that. But at best, this is divisive. It's dividing our nation. It is fear-mongering. And as a first-generation American in my family, this is truly just a really disgusting way to proceed in dividing America. And so this doesn't address the challenges that we have in the immigration system. I agree, it is a broken system and we need to address those challenges head on, but fear-mongering and demonizing immigrant families isn't going to get us there.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think that when you think about it, I agree with you, Lee. I don't think this gets its way through the court, but he's also sending a message to Congress. You are part and parcel responsible for where we are, and you haven't acted.
Right.
And that's the responsibility of both parties, right? So Congress needs to take action, and we have a federalist system of government so that Congress is responsible for passing the law. So this is a charge to Congress to act, and unfortunately in Connecticut, all of our members of Congress have refused to even acknowledge that there is a problem at the border. And so they have to come to the table, and you say this all the time, Joe, people have to come to the table and offer solutions. And in the absence of that, it demands executive action. And we need to stop illegal immigration, and we need to stop the chaos at the border. And it's important, I agree with you, Danielle, when you're talking about first-generation Americans, that is so important to this country. But it's important also to acknowledge this is really addressed at illegal immigration, not legal immigrants that are coming to this country that are the bedrock of our society.
Yeah, look, the Congressional Budget Office did the study. They said immigration is one of the highest drivers to our economy. That has to be considered. But the point of having illegal immigrants here committing crimes, hurting people, yes, I think everybody's in favor of let's get them out of here. They don't belong here, deport them, keep our people safe.
Tom's not in favor of it.
Right.
No, I think Tong, and I talked to him after the press conference, and he really came back to that. He goes, look, maybe I misspoke, but I want to protect the birthright citizenship. I am going to fight tooth and nail for illegal immigration. If people are committing crimes, yes, something should be done. This is going a bridge too far, and having the Senate leaders, Republican leaders say they're not willing to work with Democrats for a holistic solution, that was incredibly disappointing.
Okay, so last week on the program, we told you about Senate Democrats unveiling their plan to lower energy costs. The problem? Well, it wasn't really a plan. It was more like an announcement that they're going to prioritize a plan. Well, 1 week later, the Republicans have pounced all over this and revealed their 6-point plan to solve the same problem. Some of the ideas: increase natural gas supply, get rid of incentive programs for things like EVs that increase electrical demand, and the biggie, remove public benefits charges from power bills. Take a listen to this.
I think we've been gaslit a little bit on what is contained in those public benefits charges, but about $500 to $600 million statewide of public benefits charges are paid every single month by Connecticut residents, excluding the charges for the Millstone contract, which oscillates between a credit and a debit to the bill.
77% of the public benefits charge is from the Millstone deal that the Republicans pushed and initiated when we had a tied Senate. So the big cost is something that they asked for.
Joe, I can't keep all these plans straight. Who's going to do anything this year? We've been talking about, as I said in this program, since Ella Grasso was in office, about lowering costs. And it never happens.
Look, I think there are ideas out there. There's ideas on both sides. But ultimately, it's going to require some leadership, someone to get all parties to the table, Republican, Democrats, regulators, outside groups, the rating agencies. Right now, we're in a very bad situation, and it's only going to get worse unless we get some bipartisan, by-office cooperation to come up with a plan. They have to look at PURA and how they go about their process. The commissioners, regardless of who's there, if the process is broken, it's broken for all. And I think right now it's just stuck. I think in the legislature, for a lot of years, we pushed off all that authority we had over to the agencies because we know what a hot button issue it is, and we all wanted our hands off of it, especially when we're raising rates. But the residents of the state of Connecticut are hurting. We have to have more supply, whether it's gas, whether it's nuclear. Those are big long-term decisions, and it's going to require.
And Lee, you must hear every day on your radio program.
It's probably the biggest issue that the locals talk about here, and I get people calling that their rates have gone up in some cases 2 and 3 times. And there's a store near where the radio station is, a grocery store. The guy's electric bill went from $5,000 to $17,000. Nobody can survive like that. So, it's got to be, something's got to be done in particular about the public portion of that, for sure.
Goodness, I totally agree with you, Lee. I mean, right now we're like halfway into this 10-year deal that Connecticut residents are subsidizing this energy for the entire New England. We produce a huge amount of energy and electricity, but we only consume a percentage of that. Our neighbor to the north of us really consumes a lot, Massachusetts. So the blame game is really getting old here, whether it be Republicans or Democrats. The fact of the matter is, yes, Republicans led the charge on Millstone, but Democrats supported it and voted it and got it over the hump. So right now we need to make sure that everyone is at the table. We stop playing the blame game and we figure out how to reduce these bills for ratepayers because everyone is suffering.
All right, Liz, how about getting Pura out of deep and making it an independent agency yet again?
Here, right? I mean, that was done under the Malloy administration. It was done, we all know, for very political reasons at the request of the commissioner at the time, and Dan Malloy acquiesced to that.
Nothing was studied, nothing was done. They said, let's do this.
Correct, and that is the wrong approach. This needs to be an independent regulator, which it is not. And, with all due respect to Senator Duff, like, when there is a problem that's a result of legislation, go fix it. That doesn't mean, oh my goodness, we passed a bill and everyone knows it's a problem, let's look the other way. No, there is a clarion call to fix this, and you are choosing to look the other way, and it's laughable. You put a bill on the floor that doesn't have any substance to it. I mean, come on. Right. And you're blaming businesses. Of all things, give me a break.
All right, stay tuned, guys. Well, so in spite of gripes about Connecticut's high energy costs and Liz's ranting, Governor Lamont continues to be one of the most well-liked governors in the country. And according to a morning consult, the Nedster has a 63% approval rating. Among Democrats, he's one of the highest ratings in the country. But last week, the Gov said he wants to focus on climate resiliency. He slammed President Trump's efforts to bail on the Paris Climate Agreement and plans to put forth legislation aimed at protecting homeowners and businesses from potential weather events like flooding that devastated western Connecticut last summer. Watch this.
I was shocked when I went down to the Nordic Valley after that flooding, and nobody had any flood insurance. It wasn't in a floodplain. The broker didn't really emphasize it as important. We're going to make sure when you're there, when you're getting that mortgage, the broker is required to tell you what the risks you have here in terms of flood insurance and what's available to you.
So, Liz, last session of the legislature, the environmental community came out of the woodwork to criticize Governor Lamont for basically doing nothing on climate action last year. I think he may have gotten the memo. What do you think? I
mean, to me, it's laughable. This is also the governor who rescinded the RFP for wind energy. Like, so we're getting lectured about sustainability and renewables. I think the environmental community in the state has said their part. But look, I'm also going to say this, God bless her, Jody Rell's numbers were higher.
Wow, that's tough to follow. Look, his approval rating is well-deserved. He really is an excellent leader. He is graceful, but he pauses. He makes decisions deliberate. He doesn't react from right off the cuff. And I think on this energy issue, I think some of the environmentalists have been completely unfair and unrealistic of where we need to go or can go. If we go in this direction, it could probably mean higher electric rates and a lot more money needed for infrastructure. And nobody's willing to step up with all of these tangibles that'll actually make some of these things possible. So again, around energy policy, whether it's protecting our environment or providing cheap quality energy, we're stuck. It's got to break.
The answer, my friend, is blown in the wind. Up next on Capital Report, we are barely into 2025. It's already time to start talking about, get this, 2026. News 8's political reporter Mike Cerulli here to talk about the big move by hard-hitting New Britain Mayor Aaron Stewart when we come back. Don't go away, guys.
Energy.
We're not even a month into 2025, and the conversation is already pivoting to 2026. And last week, New Britain Mayor Aaron Stewart filed paperwork for an exploratory campaign committee, firing the official starting gun on the gubernatorial race. Our own Mike Cerulli has been following many of the potential candidates out on the campaign trail. Mike, you've been putting a lot of clicks on the odometer, tracking the shadow campaigns you spent last night last week, Thursday night in the Rose City, Norwich. Mike, lucky you.
Yeah, good morning to you, Tom. I guess the Holiday Inn in Norwich isn't exactly, the coolest scene in the world, but Last Thursday, it was the site of a grassroots fundraiser attended by many influential Republicans, including Mayor Stewart. She was the keynote speaker at this event, an event that took place the same day when her exploratory committee became public. Now, of course, she has not officially thrown her hat in the ring for governor yet, but she strongly hinted at her plans in her speech. She told the crowd they'd be hearing from her soon, and she laid out what she thinks Republicans need to do in order to win. Take a listen.
So we have to build a party infrastructure for success now and work to nominating strong candidates that can win, because winning is everything.
Oh, not so subtle electability message from Aaron Stewart there. You know, Lee is on auto pour at the bar at that Holiday Inn there in Norwich here. So Republicans win. So I wonder what she thinks that could be, Mike. I understand Aaron wasn't the only potential Republican contender there, right?
Yeah, that's right. This was the most interesting part of this, perhaps. Remember, Norwich is kind of the backyard of State Senator Heather Summers, who was also at the fundraiser. And when I talked to her, she said she hasn't made a decision yet on running for governor, but, well, take a listen to what she said after that.
I haven't made any decisions at this point, but if I did decide to move forward, I think I bring a breath of fresh air, something different, because I have municipal experience as a mayor. I have private sector. I was the head of a biotech company for 25 years in the state of Connecticut, and I also have had now 8 years of legislative experience. So if I decide to do something, it's a resume that's really unmatched.
Heather polishing that CV there, Mike. Getting ready for that run, looks like, huh?
Yeah, and you know, Heather and Mayor Stewart are just really only two of the potential Republican candidates. You've also got folks like State Senator Rob Sampson, whose name is in the mix, and really we're so far out from any votes being cast that this field is far from being fully formed. And of course, that's before we even mention the prospect of a whole separate primary on the Democratic side, or the possibility that Ned goes for the three-peat.
All right, Mike, since a lot of chicken dinners in your future, it won't be your only time in the Rose City, Mike. You must like a lot of the hotel ballrooms these days, huh? You know them all, the salons.
Ballrooms, backyards, living rooms, VFW halls, wherever the campaign is, Tom, that's where I'll be.
There you go, Mike. News 8 political reporter Mike Cerulli, thanks for being here.
Great to be here.
Up next on Cap Report, Senator Murphy, you know, not too happy about President Trump and the billionaires in his orbit. Hear what he has to say about it. We get back. Do not go away. Rose City. Since Inauguration Day, Connecticut Senator Chris Murphy has been flooding X with posts and videos criticizing the new administration. A couple in particular focused on the billionaires with a B Trump has aligned himself with from the tech and social media world. At the inauguration, it was Trump's family in the front row, Musk, Zuckerberg, Bezos, and company in row 2. And get this, the cabinet picks right behind them. Murphy is also fuming about potential tax cuts to the billionaire class could see at the expense of cuts to programs such as Medicare and the Affordable Care Act. Here's the Murph.
But just as important is the fact that almost all those billionaires ran information companies. Because what Trump really wants is to control the information in this country. What he really wants is for those companies that run major social media platforms or news platforms to bury criticism of him and elevate his message.
Hey, Lee, did I miss his criticisms of George Soros through the years?
You know, I didn't. Wasn't Zuckerberg taking a knee to the Biden administration as well? I tell you, you know, Murphy's my second favorite United States senator from Connecticut. So just so you guys know that, this is about as much hypocrisy as possible. But what do you want? Do you want Trump to surround himself with what? A bunch of welfare recipients? He's surrounding himself with people who are in power, with people who are successful, with people who are smart. Musk is smart. Musk is going to help lead a charge, change things. So I have no problem with surrounding yourself with some of the most influential people on the entire planet. I mean, this is what Trump does. I mean, I don't think this is a big deal at all.
I think what concerns me is what is going to happen to the policy of this country. Look, and I think you're right. I'm one of those individuals, too, that I want people smarter than me around the table to work with. And I get
That's why we're here, Joe.
But, yes, point proven. But it is very troublesome when you start hearing the initial proposals coming out to where average people, the ones that sent Trump to the president, are now going to potentially suffer in the way of Medicaid cuts, in the way of Social Security cuts, in the way of health care changes, prescriptions. That's not what he ran on. And if you're going to benefit the millionaires and the billionaires with the B at the expense of the working class, the problems that we have in this country are just going to be worse, and it's going to be further dividing our country instead of bringing people together.
But Joe, the only people talking about those programs getting cut are Democrats, right? That they're not. Republicans are not coming to the table saying we need to cut Medicare, we need to cut those programs.
He's throwing it against the wall in his spaghetti mess.
What Republicans are talking about is cutting excess funding where it's not going to where. I mean, think about all of the billions of dollars and trillions of dollars worth of budget that are wasted. They're not talking about cutting things that are helping people. It's Democrats who are leading with that to scare people.
I would disagree. When he talks about leaving the World Health Organization, to where the United States is one of the largest funders, and you have individuals like Brenda Kupchak putting up on Facebook, this would be dangerous for our entire country. It's real, and those are the thing in his spaghetti mess that he throws against the wall.
They are talking about this. They've been talking about it for years, the Republicans cutting social services. They talk about it all the time, so they don't have to lead with that.
But
we know what they want to do. But more importantly, for this oligarchy, these billionaires that are really influencing the policy behind the scenes, trading favors, that's what's serious about it. Whether you're Democrat or Republican, it just doesn't sit right with me, whether you're Biden or Trump, and that's what's happening. When you have people reporting that they are following Trump on social media and they didn't apply for his to be a friend on Facebook, that is really controlling, and that's really what's scary about minimizing and dissenting political
All right, guys, up next on Cap Report, the library book that's finally found its way home. When Cap Report returns, don't go away. Speaking of no bull, 56 years ago, a copy of Ernest Hemingway's The Sun Also Rises was checked out of Greenwich Public Library. It was never returned until now. Yes, the Greenwich Library revealed last week that the copy of the book, along with an apology letter, arrived earlier this month. The bull was overdue since April 15th, 1969. And the person who returned it explained it had been packed away in a box with all these years, along with the letter. They included a check to buy a new copy. The good news, the Greenwich Library no longer has overdue fines, so all is forgiven, guys. I bet you guys got a lot of books in your library.
I'm going to check the shelf when I get home. A lot of babysitters club in my house on the
I saw Lee
That's going to do it for the team, for the mayor, the coach, Lizzie, Lee. See you next week.
Listen, you almost just Marshall.